Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video we are going to work with a problem-solving plan to solve some real-world problems. This is the plan we're going to use. There's other plans and you may have used different ones in the past, and that's fine. If you have a problem-solving plan that you like and want to use, you can do that. But here's a real basic problem-solving plan. Step one is to understand the problem. That usually involves reading the problem, finding the important information, asking questions, looking things up. That's all part of understand the problem. Step two, this is kind of the fun part, this is make a plan. So translate the problem into a plan. Can you make a table? Can you look at a simpler problem? Can you write an equation? Can you make a diagram or a picture? So this is where you will look at different strategies. And throughout the rest of this course, we'll look at different strategies to help with problem solving. Today we'll mostly focus on what are the steps in the plan, and then after that we'll look at, well, could we use a table? Could we use a simpler problem? Could we draw a picture? I'm going to try writing this again. I'm trying to say strategies. Step three is to carry out the plan. This is where you actually get to do the math. You might use your calculator, you might write an equation and solve it. So that's where maybe you'll use a formula. That's carrying out the plan. The last step is to check and interpret. So there's really two parts of this, but we're combining it. Checking is to see if your answer makes sense. And interpret is, did I really answer the question? And maybe there was an easier way I could have solved this. That's a good time to start thinking about that. So that's part of the step four. It's reflecting, it's called in some of the problem-solving plans. It's seeing if your answer makes sense, seeing if you actually answered the question, and if there was maybe a better way to do it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use this plan, and we're going to use it on this problem right here. So this is all one problem. And it's very similar to a problem in the book. It says, on Monday, Nick spent a total of 200 minutes on his algebra, study skills, myths and legends, and earth science assignments. So that's 4 different classes. Algebra is one class, study skills is one class, myths and legends is one class, and earth science is one class. Here's how that breaks down a little bit further. He spent 50 minutes on algebra. He spent 1 hour, that's 60 minutes, we might need to know that, on earth science, and 40 minutes on myths and legends. That's an English class. How many minutes did he spend on his study skills assignment? So that's the problem. We read it. That was the first step, is to understand the problem. So usually reading is the first thing we do. What is the information that needs to be found? This is the information that needs to be found. How many minutes did he spend on his study skills assignment? I'm going to just copy and paste and put that in here. That kind of looked weird, didn't it? I'll turn it into a different color so it's, you can tell that that's, where is my colors? I can't because I'm covering up I'll change it to a different font. I can do that. There. Number 2, what do you need to know to answer this question? We need to know, well, we need to know how much he spent on his other classes, right? Let's write that. How much time he spent on his other classes. And we also need to know the total time. We do know that. It's actually 200, but we do need to know that in order to answer this question. You also need to know that 60 minutes is the same as 1 hour, but I'm going to skip writing that. What information have we been given? Again, we can copy and paste some of this information. This is the main information we've been given right here. Let's put that down here. Let's make use of using a computer to do our assignment and make it a little bit easier than retyping everything. And again, I'm just making it bold so I can tell, because my video window is covering up my change the color thing. And also we're given that the total time spent on his homework, it was 200 minutes. That's the information we're given. Make a plan. How could we solve this problem? Don't solve it yet, just say what you could do to solve it. There's more than one way to solve this problem. We could write an equation where this plus this plus this plus this, study skills, equals 200. We could just take the 200 and start subtracting what we know. There's probably other ways too. I'm going to write an equation. I like equations. So that's what my plan is going to be. My plan is going to be write an equation and solve it. This step is not actually doing the work, it's just saying what you're going to do. Sometimes you might draw a picture, but this time it doesn't really make sense to draw a picture. Sometimes you might make a table. There's other things you could do for this step, but we're going to just write an equation and solve it. So here's the problem again, which is nice because then we can see it, and it'll help me write my equation. So I'm going to write my equation now and then solve it. So I'm going to write the equation that 50, that's 50 minutes for algebra, plus 60, that's the 1 hour for earth science, plus 40, that's for myths and legends, plus we need a variable for the study skills class. I don't like to use S because when I write, my S's look like 5s, so I'll use X, good old X. And that's all equal to my total of 200. Now again, this is not the only way to solve this problem, it's just the way I decided to solve it. And then if I'm going to solve this equation, we haven't really worked with solving equations yet, just really simple ones, but I'll tell you that what we need to do is combine these numbers. We need to know what is 50 plus 60 plus 40. That is 150. I could have done that in my head because 60 plus 40 makes 100 and plus 50 more is 150. So that's 150. So now I've got kind of an easy equation, 150 plus some number, and we have worked with equations like this. 150 plus some number is equal to 200. So now we have to think, what would our missing number be? And it would be 50, because 150 plus 50 more is 200, so x equals 50. Now I have to see if my answer makes sense and explain it. So I should probably also put some units on here. So I'm going to go back and write that 60 minutes for study skills assignment. There, I've labeled it. Yes, but I had to go back and label it because I forgot to do that the first time around. But it does make sense because 50 minutes to do an assignment seems like a reasonable amount of time. That's less than an hour, and his other assignments took him about that same amount of time. I'll write that too. His other assignments took about the same length of time. Can you think of another way to solve this problem? If so, what is it? And this one I can, because remember I said I could have subtracted from the total. So I could have went 200 minus 50 for the algebra, minus 60 for the earth science, and I could have then subtracted what was 40 for the myths and legends. And I could have found out what that equals. I could call that x still. And that would also give me the correct answer. So that's our plan, and here's the steps again. So what you're going to do is choose just 3 more problems to do using this problem-solving plan. Be sure to show your work. Now you don't have to write down each one. You don't have to write understand the problem, make a plan, carry out the plan, solve. But you do have to, for the make a plan and carry out the plan, you do have to show some work. You cannot just write an answer for these because these are a little bit longer problems to do. Let's see if there's one we should just start. I like number 12 a lot because this happens quite often when you're cooking, is that you need to change a recipe so that it'll feed more people. So number 12 says a recipe for pancakes calls for 1 cup of mix, 1/2 cup of milk, 1 egg, and 1/3 cup of oil. And it makes 12 to 15 pancakes. The box will say 12 to 15 pancakes because everybody doesn't make their pancakes the same size. So it might make 15 smaller pancakes or 12 bigger pancakes. It might even make like 4 huge pancakes. I don't know. But if they're normal size pancakes, whatever that means, that's what this will make. I'm going to grab this, copy and paste this down here. Let's try to follow the plan for this problem. Brianna wants to make about 40 pancakes for her friends. How much of each ingredient should she use? So, to understand the problem, first is reading and making sure that we know what each part is. And we discussed, what does 12 to 15 mean? Why is it a range? And if she wants to make 40 pancakes, and it doesn't say exactly, it says about 40. So I wonder if there's something we could do to these for the smaller amount of pancakes to get to 40. That might be something to think about. And how much of each ingredient should she use? So I think I understand the problem. Next is to make a plan. I might make a table for this one. And then I can put in the amounts for 12 to 15 pancakes, and then maybe I could double it, and maybe I could triple it, and then I could see if one of those numbers will be about 40. So let me set up a table. So my plan is going to be make a table. And I'm going to add a table. I have to find the table tool here to get to a table. Insert table. And this is probably too big of a table. I probably don't need this many rows, but that's okay. And now I gotta get so we can see this better. Okay, I think we can see it okay. All right, so I'm going to I'll put my recipe, and I'll put the, you know what, I'll put this is the recipe as it is. So recipe as it is, that is for 12 to 15 pancakes. And for 12 to 15 pancakes, I need 1 cup mix. I'm just going to write it in the table. I need 1/2 cup milk. I need 1 egg and 1/3 cup oil. So I have 1 extra row. Cup oil. Okay, let's double the recipe. If I take 12 times 2, that's 24. And if I take 15 times 3, that's 30. And if I multiply all of these by 2, let's see what we get. 1 cup times 2 is 2 cups. What is 1/2 times 2? If you take 1/2 cup of milk and you double it, that means you have a half and another half. A half and a half is a whole cup. So we would need 1 cup of milk. I should label these, huh? And that's not going to be enough pancakes, but this gives us a good start. 1 egg plus 1 egg is 2 eggs. And 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3 cups oil. Oil. Okay. Now if I want to take and triple my recipe, that means I need to take everything in this row and multiply it by 3. Everything in the first row multiplied by 3 to triple it. So that will give me 12 times 3 is 36 pancakes. 15 times 3 is 45. So if I take 1 cup of mix times 3, that's 3 cups of mix. And if I take 1/2 cup of milk and I times it by 3, that's the same as adding it 3 times. What is 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2? Well, we already said this was 1. So that would give us 1 1/2 cups of milk. have too many slash lines in there. 1.5 cups of milk. And 1 egg times 3 is the same as 1 plus 1 plus 1. And I'll let you finish this. And then a 1/3 cup of oil, you'd have to find out what 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 or 1/3 times 3 is. And then you have to decide, is this going to answer my question, or do I need to multiply my recipe times 4 so that I'll get enough pancakes? So you think about this and finish this up, and then finish that. What we're working on now is carrying out the plan, so you'll need to finish it if you're choosing this problem. And then you'll need to check your answer and see if it makes sense, and make sure you've labeled it and that you've answered the question. Now you don't have to pick this problem because the directions said to choose 3 problems. So if you think that one seems like too much work, you could do number 8, 9, and 10 instead, or 9, 10, and 11. So you've got some choices there. Do your best and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.